This video is for business leaders who sometimes feel like imposters and want to cure it. Hello everyone, my name is Tim B. Green and this is Crush It Club episode 78, Cure Imposter Syndrome. I should have probably called it How to Cure Imposter Syndrome, but it's a real estate thing. I decided to shorten it. So, have you experienced imposter syndrome? How did you deal with it? Please share any experiences you're willing to in the comments. Thanks. So I can only speak for myself in this one, and that is I have felt sometimes that I am unworthy of the task that I am doing. Even in a class of children, that I didn't feel that I did the best job that I could. So I know it can happen to anybody. But I think you tell me, do you ever feel like maybe you're not as qualified or as skilled or perhaps doing as good of a job as you think you could or should? Just about everybody feels uncertain at some point about their decisions and that they'll, oh my God, be discovered as some kind of fraud, some kind of imposter masquerading as an expert or a leader. Just so you know, this is actually not that uncommon, but it's kind of been blown out of proportion lately, I think, especially in social media. Did you know that many of the most successful founders and leaders on earth and in history had self-doubt and even think they're going to fail? And the first example I can think of that comes to mind is Elon Musk. Now, these are more or less his words, so bear with me. It's like, they both almost failed. We were out of money and down to our last rocket. We were lucky. So SpaceX and Tesla both almost failed. But they had the successful rocket test. They got the contract from NASA. I don't know the details about what happened with Tesla, but we all know that they didn't fail. But he had doubts from the beginning. He said he thought both of them would fail when he started it. I'll give you another example of something that is the sort of brilliant humility of people who allow self-doubt, and in fact, self-doubt, as long as it isn't chronic and appropriately measured, is actually the mark of a great leader. Ray Dalio in his book Principles talks about how the fallibility of people in general, all the time, if you follow him on LinkedIn, he talks about this and finding credible counterpoints. So in his book, he said it's written into their contract that if you are the janitor or anybody else working at Bridgewater Associates and you hear something in a meeting or something that says that you know for a fact to be wrong, and you have to be knowledgeable and credible, not necessarily credentialed, it is within your contract you're required to speak up and object and say why you object, why that thing that somebody just said was wrong. So if your father was a gemologist, but you happen to be a janitor, and they're talking about investing in a synthetic gem thing, and they say something that you know is impossible or completely wrong, you're required to put up your hand and say, excuse me, Mr. Dalio, but that's not true. You're wrong, and I know because. You have to be credible, but it just shows it's not only not unreasonable to have doubt, to know that you're not perfect, because nobody is, but you are a better leader as a result of it. So one of the first things you can do, though, this is sort of my list now of things you can do to avoid or cure imposter syndrome, is don't be an imposter. Strive always to know your material as opposed to fake it till you make it. By and large, I think that's overused. There's too many people with a complete lack of qualifications, credentials, not even credentials, ability and knowledge to do what they're doing, and they just figure that they can fake it till they make it. The only problem with this is Other people know stuff too. So let's start with this. If you doubt yourself, seek objective outside verification of your skill. So with a trusted advisor, with your best friend, your wife, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, whatever it is, ask them. Ask somebody who isn't so close to you, but get objective verification. Do I really know what I'm talking about? If you need to. If you do know what you're talking about, then you probably have confidence. And that usually starts with knowing you're not perfect, but also knowing your stuff. If you want to be an expert, be a leader, be a leader. Always be trying to gain that skill that makes you not need to question it in the first place. And the next point, and pretty much my final point, not quite, but pretty much my final point is be honest and or humble about your current level of expertise. So let's paint a scenario here. Imagine you're at some event, some Zoom call or some Zoom seminar, and somebody says, I'm an expert at relationships, just as an example, because I'm certainly not, that isn't my area of expertise, but I'm an expert at relationship. And then they say something that you know from your own knowledge and experience to be utterly wrong. Not a perspective, but utterly wrong. How do you feel about that expert? Remember, they said they were an expert. They were faking it till they made it. And then they said something, you know, that discredited them as an expert, such as my speaking today. Now let's rewind this scenario. What if instead they say, look, I am striving to become a relationship expert. I'm knowledgeable and I think I have something I can teach you to help you be better in your relationships, developing business relationships or other relationships. So they're basically claiming to be on the journey towards expertise rather than experts. I think I can help you and that this will help you with your relationships, but I'm not an expert. Now, if they say now something, going back to where we were, they say something that you know to be utterly incorrect, that you know from your own knowledge, having studied the same topic, that is completely wrong or has been proven wrong in recent years or many years ago by many experts who spent their life studying it, actual experts in that. But they prefaced it by, I'm not perfect, I don't know anything, I'm on the journey to becoming an expert. And then they make a mistake. How would you feel about that as compared to, I am an expert, and then them making an utterly incorrect statement? So that's it for this episode. If you want to not be seen, sorry, let me do that again. Lots of inexpert stuff going on in my mouth today. If you want to cure or avoid the sense of being an imposter as a leader, as an expert, make it really simple. First of all, strive genuinely to be that expert. Be the expert as far as you can. Admit that you're not perfect. And have the humility to take feedback and everything else from everybody, from anybody else who has it. And finally, if you're really in doubt, ask an objective outsider whom you trust, what's my level of expertise? But nobody I can think of, or I don't believe anybody who admits to not being an expert, but striving to become one, who is on that path, that journey, who then makes a mistake, is somebody that you're going to doubt. So I hope this really helps you with any self-doubt you have. We all have it. That's human. This has been Crush It Club episode 78, Cure Imposter Syndrome. My name is Tim B. Green. Bye for now.